Would you risk uncovering painful truths if it meant finally discovering who you truly are? The coastal wind sliced through the narrow streets of the small town, heavy with salt and winter chill. A thick fog curled in from the sea, cloaking the Gothic manor perched precariously upon the cliffs in a ghostly veil. Emma Greenway's footsteps echoed hollowly as she approached the aged iron gates, her copper hair damp beneath the hood of her earth-toned coat. The green scarf around her neck felt heavier today, a fragile emblem of hope she desperately clung to against the storm swirling inside her. A murmur of voices rose and fell beyond the gravestones, faint but insistent, as the funeral procession wound through the fog-laden cemetery. Emma's slender form moved awkwardly, a reluctant figure among distant relatives draped in their own shadows. Faces blurred, distant yet accusing, their eyes heavy with unspoken judgment. She felt invisible and exposed beneath their cold, piercing gazes. The low murmur died, replaced by the steady tolling of the church bell, its somber clang resonating deep within her bones. Emma's breath pooled in misty clouds before her, each exhale a fragile surrender to memories she hoped to bury with her father, with the past. She paused beneath the heavy sky, watching as the coffin was lowered, the dark soil swallowing her father's secrets. The wind stole words from her lips before they drifted away, and the folding flags bit at the silence like frozen promises. A stern voice pierced the haze. "Miss Greenway, step forward." Emma turned, eyes wide with a mix of defiance and dread, to face her estranged family's elder. He was a man carved from stone, gaunt, sharp-featured, and merciless. His gaze was a blade that cut deeper than the ocean's bite. "You stand here like a stranger," he said, voice cold and unforgiving, disgraced by absence, burdened by your failures. "Do you truly believe you belong among us?" Her heart hammered, a frenetic rhythm in her chest. She swallowed hard, cheeks aflame as whispers edged the gathering like unseen frost. Among these distant airs, her presence was an afterthought, a lingering shadow of a broken legacy. The heirloom pocket watch in the hand of the bearer glinted faintly in the mist, a glittering promise wrapped in weight and destiny, ticking a slow beat that echoed the passage of years, of time unfinished and fates undecided. Emma's eyes flicked to the moss-covered stones beneath the ancient yews, seeking refuge in the earth. She felt herself unraveling under the weight of silent accusation and memories best left forgotten. "You owe more than apologies," the elder added bitterly. "Your choices haunt us all, and your absence breathed curses upon this bloodline." The fog thickened, swallowing the edges of the manor, turning its broken windows and peeling paint into specters of decay. Emma shivered not from cold but from the crushing isolation, the heavy silence pressing in. She knew, then, the true battle was no longer held in whispered family halls but in the chambers of her own heart. Beneath the weight of loss and disdain, she braced for the unseen, her fingers tightening around the scarf, the green thread like a fragile lifeline. The moon above, obscured yet luminous, promised revelation in its silent glow, but for now, Emma stood alone, a solitary figure caught in the tides of forgotten truths and unspoken curses. The last echoes of the gathering faded, leaving only the haunting rustle of the seekest wind and the distant toll of a destiny waiting to be claimed. The manor's door creaked open under Emma's hesitant hand, its ancient hinges groaning like a whispered warning. The stale air inside was thick, steeped in dust, faded memories, and the weight of years left unspoken. Her footsteps echoed softly on the worn wooden floors as she ventured deeper, the fading light from the hallway casting long shadows that stretched like fingers from the shuttered windows. She paused before the heavy oak door of her father's study, tracing the wood grain with trembling fingertips, the texture rough beneath her skin. A dull ache, part regret, part fear, settled in her chest. She pushed the door open, revealing a room frozen in time. Bookshelves sagged beneath the weight of leather-bound tomes, and atop the desk lay a scattering of yellowed papers, brittle and curling, waiting quietly beneath layers of dust. The silence was almost oppressive, broken only by the distant crash of waves against the cliffs, a reminder of the relentless passage of time beyond these walls. Emma moved slowly, eyes scanning the room for a tether to the man she barely knew, an invisible bridge over the chasm that had grown between them. Her gaze settled on a faded photograph, half hidden beneath a pile of letters. She picked it up with reverence, the smiling face of her father, younger, proud, but with eyes shadowed by secrets. A sudden wave of abandonment crashed through her, questions without answers, moments lost forever, a life lived apart. The green scarf around her neck felt suddenly heavier, the symbol of new beginnings strained under the weight of old wounds. She wrapped her fingers tighter around it, a silent plea for strength. Emma sank into her father's worn leather chair, the scent of aged leather and paper surrounding her like a fragile cocoon. She reached for a letter, its edges brittle, the ink faded but legible. The words unfolded secrets and regrets, a tapestry of burdens carried alone. The strange, cryptic references to family curses and lost legacies stirred something deep within, a flicker of curiosity amid the shadows. Her breath caught as the moonlight spilled through the stained glass, casting a pale glow onto the heirloom pocket watch resting atop the desk. Its polished surface shimmered, the delicate hands frozen as if holding time itself hostage. The watch, a symbol of destiny and fleeting moments, seemed to pulse softly beneath the cool luminescence. Emma lifted it carefully, feeling the weight of generations resting in her palm. Her mind bristled with conflicting emotions, a cocktail of resentment, hope, and an aching yearning for understanding. The study, once a prison of silence, now breathed with whispered possibilities. Her eyes flickered towards the door, the manor's creaking bones settling into an uneasy quiet. The faintest breeze stirred the heavy velvet curtains, drawing her attention to the obscured view beyond the window, the dense, creeping fog that enveloped the cliffs and swallowed the fading light. In that suspended moment, Emma felt a small, defiant ember ignite within her, a fragile certainty that beneath the shadows of past pain, a path awaited discovery. She clutched the pocket watch, the symbol of time's relentless march and the promise of transformation. The silence deepened, wrapping her in introspection, as she rose from the chair with cautious resolve. The fog outside whispered secrets yet to be unveiled, and Emma stepped toward the unknown, the weight of legacy and the flickering hope of redemption intertwined in her every breath. The fading daylight outside seeped through the heavy drapes of the study, casting long blue-gray shadows that stretched across the worn wooden floor. Emma crouched low beside an ancient armoire half swallowed by dust and neglect, her fingers tracing a faint inscription along its edge, a whispered secret carved generations ago. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper, cedar, and a hint of forgotten despair. A tentative breath escaped her lips as she carefully lifted the lid of a battered leather box, revealing treasures of another life, delicate letters scribbled in hurried, trembling script, brittle photographs frozen in sepia tones, and amidst it all, a small, ornate pocket watch glinting as if catching the last flicker of dying light. Its surface was intricately engraved, worn smooth by decades of hands long gone, yet it seemed to pulse with a silent heartbeat in her grasp. The ticking stopped the moment she wound it, the hands frozen at a time that belonged only to the pasta-fractured moment she could neither name nor resist. Moonlight from a break in the clouds spilled softly across the watch face, illuminating the intricate gears concealed beneath the glass, reminding her of time's cruel passage and the legacy her father had left behind. Near the watch lay a letter, edges yellowed and creased, sealed with a deep crimson wax stamp that bore the family crest, a serpent entwined with a rose. Emma's heart pounded as she broke the seal, unfolding the lifeblood of her inheritance. The letter spoke in cryptic tones of a curse woven across generations, a tale of lost loyalty, hidden sin, and a destiny shackled by blood and betrayal. Her fingers trembled, clutching the fragile parchment as the room seemed to pulse around hearth-shadowed walls, breathing with the whispers of her ancestors. The abandoned manor, once a proud sanctuary of heritage, now stood as a fragile relic, its decay a mirror of secrets long buried beneath layers of silence. Emma's eyes lifted to the broken window, where the moon hung high, a silver sentinel in a sky heavy with portent. The cold light washed over her copper hair, casting a spectral glow that seemed to ignite the green scarf wrapped gently around her neck, a subtle beacon of renewal defying the encroaching darkness. Her breath caught at a sudden, chilling sound, a soft creak from the floor above, as if the manor itself exhaled a warning. Yet beneath the fear that threatened to unravel her, a cautious spark flickered, the promise of revelation, the raw potency of a truth that could reshape not just her own fractured past, but the cursed future looming over her family. Emma closed the letter, the weight of its words settling deep within her. The heirloom watch, now warm against her palm, was no longer merely a relic, it was a talisman marking the threshold of a journey she could no longer avoid. With a measured step, she rose from the dust-choked silence of her father's study and moved toward the manor's ancient staircase, the moonlight guiding her path upward into the shadows where secrets waited, a dark labyrinth of letters, memories, and a destiny both terrifying and irresistible. The cold night air brushed against the broken glass behind her, carrying distant echoes of the sea and the soft murmur of the town settling into uneasy rest. Emma's eyes, sharp and steady, met the moonlit horizon through the shattered window, a silent vow echoing in the silence: to uncover, to confront, to reclaim. Beyond the veil of fog and forgotten truths, beneath the watchful eye of the moon, the story was just beginning. The manor held its breath beneath a shifting sky streaked with steel-gray clouds and the faintest touch of moonlight, a pale glow that barely touched the weathered stone walls or the tangled silence that clung to the abandoned grounds. Emma Greenway moved with cautious purpose through the dim corridors, her footsteps muted against the creaking floorboards, a delicate dance between dread and desperate hope. A faint autumn breeze squeezed through broken panes, carrying the salt-hardened scent of the sea mixed with decayed leaves, a wild, unforgiving perfume that seemed to echo the manor's silence, as if the house itself mourned the secrets buried in its bones. Emma's fingers traced the antique pocket watch she held close, its cool metal humming faintly beneath her touch, as if alive with the weight of generations. The letter she had unfolded in the study whispered of legacy and curses, and now, as she stepped deeper into the dark heart of her father's world, the faint embers of curiosity began to kindle against the backdrop of fear. The manor's shadows shifted unpredictably, painting colors of blue and gray that flickered with every uncertain breath she took. She paused before a heavy oak door, a passage her father's hand had last touched, and pushed it open to reveal a study awash with the dull glow of moonlight filtering through lace curtains. The air was thick with dust and secrets. Emma's eyes fell upon a scattered pile of letters and sketches. Each page hinted at the complex tapestry of her family's history, a hidden narrative skillfully stitched with lies, longing, and a fierce urgency to protect. Her heart thudded in her chest as she recognized names, dates, and symbols entwined with the very design of her green scarf, a symbol she wore now like armor against the unknown. A sudden noise, deliberate, came from the shadows beyond the heavy bookcases. Emma's breath caught. She wasn't alone. Hands trembling but resolve hardening, she reached for the pocket watch, the ticking now a steady, calming rhythm amid the storm of swirling thoughts. A voice emerged, low, almost a whisper. "You're braver than you know. But the truth will demand more than courage." Emma turned sharply, eyes wide in the eerie half-light. A figure stepped from the shadows, indistinct yet undeniably familiar, carrying an air of cryptic purpose. "Who?" she began, voice barely more than a breath. "Someone who understands," the stranger said softly, stepping closer, the fog and secrets swirling around them like a cloak. "The watch isn't just time. It's fate. And you hold the key." The chamber seemed to close tighter, pressing in with the weight of revelations yet to come. Emma's fingers gripped the watcher-inherited burden, and her unexpected guidance, the chilling promise of discovery, set her heart ablaze. Outside, the fog thickened, swallowing the manor and its whispered secrets, masking the fragile line between past and future. Emma's eyes lifted to the window's veil, the moonlight casting a fragile path forward. Her journey into the heart of darkness had begun, and with it, a fragile hope that pain and truth might entwine to unlock the stories buried beneath centuries of silence. The cold fog that perpetually draped the coastal manor seemed to seep inside with Emma, chilling her deeper than the biting air ever could. The corridors, long and dimly lit by flickering sconces, now felt like arteries through which whispered secrets slithered like silent predators. Her footsteps, soft but determined, traced these passageways as she pursued fragmented clues that might unlock the legacy her father had left in shadows. Every creak of timber echoed louder in the heavy silence. Windows rattled against the seaborne wind, shaking loose dust motes that danced fleetingly against the projected shafts of a lone lantern. Emma's breath came uneven, caught not entirely by the cold, but by the growing weight of suspicion. Those she had initially found as family allies showed subtle but sharp fractures beneath their measured smiles. Agendas cloaked in civility, support laced with self-interest. In the cavernous drawing room, Emma confronted her cousin Juliana Mann, whose eyes had once greeted her with distant warmth but now mirrored doubt and calculation. The green scarf she wore, earthy color glowing faintly against the gray decay of the manor, felt heavier, a symbol now burdened with newfound complexity. "You can't keep digging," Julian said low, the shadows playing across his sharp features. "There are things better left buried, Emma." Her eyes snapped to his, wrestling with the clash of familial affection and cold necessity. "The past isn't some forgotten wound," she whispered. "It's the seed of what we become." Their exchange was interrupted by a soft thud, the manor's ancient heart groaning under the weight of history. The atmosphere throbbed with an unspoken tension, fraught with the brittle balance between trust and betrayal. Later, alone in the study, Emma's hands trembled as she unfolded brittle documents unearthed behind the walls. Letters exchanged in haste, veiled in arcane language, revealed titanic struggles for control beneath the family's polished veneer, conspiracies of greed, whispered curses, and destinies forged in blood. Her gaze lingered on a faded portrait, its surface cracked and worn, the visage unnervingly familiar, a woman with eyes that pierced through time. Beneath the layers of dust, the folds of history whispered warnings and promises alike. Restless energy surged within her as a mysterious visitor arrived unannounced, cloaked in shadow and authority. His gaze was hollow yet piercing, his words trembling with urgency. "The watch's curse grows stronger," he murmured. "To wield it is to dance on the edge of oblivion." Emma held the antique pocket watch closer, its polished surface reflecting the cold moonlight, the symbol of relentless time and destiny intertwined. The delicate ticking merged with the pounding of her heart, an eerie symphony of warning and hope. The manor seemed to shudder, breath held captive beneath the spectral glow of the misty coastline. Within the quiet storm, Emma faced the fractures of trust and the fragile dawn of resolve, knowing the path ahead was shadowed by peril and veiled truths. Her fingers tightened around the watch beacon in the fraught darkness, and though uncertainty haunted her steps, a fierce determination blazed within her core. Outside, the fog thickened once more, swallowing the manor and its whispered legacies as its secrets writhed beneath the heavy veil, beckoning Emma deeper into the night's enigmatic embrace. The story paused on the glowing watch face, a silent pulse in the faded light, a heart yet beating, a destiny still unfolding. The night had deepened into a heavy silence, the manor's vast halls swallowing every whisper, every cautious step Emma took deeper into its forlorn heart. Shadows stretched like dark veins along the peeling wallpaper, framing her solitary figure as she pushed open a concealed panel behind an ancient bookcase. The room it revealed was cloaked in dust and heavy with the weight of decades, but within its confines lay a trove of letters and artifacts, forgotten testimonies silently waiting for her discovery. Emma's eyes scanned the brittle pages, their ink faded but vivid with painful truths that clawed at both heart and mind. Family secrets unraveled before her like fragile threads pulling apart a tapestry, sacred and profane interwoven indiscriminately. The letters spoke of betrayals that tore through generations, of whispered pacts and curses laid upon their bloodline by a patriarch whose shadow loomed long and oppressive. The ticking of the heirloom pocket watch in her hand sounded louder here, a metronome marking time against the stillness, shifting moments into maddening clarity. Moonlight, seeping through boarded windows, cast a sepia tone on the scattered pages, illuminating the path from past to present. Her breath caught when she encountered a letter bearing her mother's handwriting, a desperate confession entwined with warnings. The curse that bound their family wasn't myth, but a chilling reality, and inheritance of darkness that sought to consume those bound by blood. The weight of her mother's words pressed against her chest, a haunting reminder of love warped by fear and silence. As tears blurred her vision, a sudden sound from the shadows, a cautious step, alerted her. A figure emerged, shrouded in a cloak of mystery and burden. "You weren't meant to find this." The voice was a low, tremulous murmur laced with concern. "The watch's curse grows stronger. Whatever path you choose, beware the cost." Emma's eyes locked on the stranger's, a flicker of recognition sparking amidst the fog of doubt. The hidden room became a crucible of revelation, binding the threads of her family's tragic legacy into a terrifying new pattern. In that fleeting moment, the portrait of a woman hung crookedly on the far wall caught her eye. She stepped closer, breath hitching. The face bore an uncanny resemblance, flesh and soul mirrored across time. Whispers rose with the moonlight, urging identity's reclaiming despite looming shadows. The manor seemed to close in, the air thickening with the weight of old curses awakened, of destinies entwined with perilous choice. Emma held the pocket watch tighter, a fragile talisman against the encroaching darkness. Outside, the relentless fog rolled ever closer, swallowing the manor's edges, blurring the line between past and present, truth and legend. The letter's warning echoed in her ears: not all legacies are blessings, and some truths demand a price beyond measure. A final glance at the watch's shimmering face, the relic's faint glow creeping over her palm, signaled a turning point. The line between innocence lost and the courage to confront the unknown had been crossed. Emma's journey had irrevocably shifted. The guarded doors of her family's past had swung wide, beckoning her into the labyrinth of hidden histories, where the true battle awaited. The moonlight waned as the room fell back into silence, the shadows reclaiming their dominion. Yet within Emma, a spark of resolve kindled, fragile but unyielding, poised at the brink of transformation. The manor's walls seemed to shrink in around her, closing in like the suffocating fog that thickened outside, shrouding the ruined estate in ghostly silence. Emma sat alone on the creaking floor of the abandoned study, the heavy gloom pressing upon her chest like a cold stone. The faint moonlight slanted through the cracked window, illuminating the dust motes that floated aimlessly in the stale air, their slow dance a cruel echo of her unraveling thoughts. Her eyes, shadowed and raw, fixated on the heirloom pocket watch cradled in her trembling hands. The delicate silver casing, etched with intricate filigree, glimmered faintly, a cruel reminder of time slipping away, destinies unfulfilled, and secrets buried in the dark soil of her family's past. The watch's silent ticking, once rhythmic and steady, now felt like a mocking heartbeat in the vast emptiness around her. Memories cascaded, whispers of her once hopeful journey blending into the stark reality of betrayal and loss. Faces blurred in her mind, distant relatives whose casual disdain mirrored the walls closing upon her, allies turned strangers, and shadows of secrets too heavy to bear. The truth she had sought clawed at her, a ravenous beast feeding on the fragile hope she had nurtured. Her very identity, once delicately preserved, now fractured beneath the weight of disillusionment. The storm outside grew restless, waves smashing violently against the cliffs as wind howled through the skeletal remains of ancient trees, seeping through cracks like spectral fingers. The icy chill gnawed at her skin and seemed to seep deeper, biting into the marrow of her spirit. Her breath formed faint clouds in the cold air, mingling with the whispering wind into mournful lament. A solitary tear traced a silent path down her cheek, catching the fleeting shimmer of moonlight before slipping into the ragged folds of her earth-toned coat. Her lips parted slightly, voice caught between a whisper and a sigh. What am I if not the sum of these broken truths? The silence replied, a deafening void from which all warmth and light had fled. Her hands clenched the pocket watch tighter as a deep, oppressive sadness settled over her. Each tick seemed to mock the fragility of her desires for redemption, the unraveling of a family legacy steeped in darkness and regret. The very manor around her echoed the decay within a crumbling edifice of forgotten promises and hidden torment. Outside, the fog thickened, swallowing the manor, the cliffs, and the distant town, erasing the separation between past and present, reality and nightmare. The suffocating quiet tightened around Emma like an iron shroud, a cavernous gloom where hope was but a fragile phantom trapped beneath the shadows. She pressed her forehead against the cold windowsill, eyes closed, surrendering to the weight of despair, the slow, inexorable descent into a void where love, trust, and identity dissolved into the unforgiving night. The camera held on her bowed silhouette, a solitary figure lost in the vast, merciless expanse of silence and sorrow. The faintest echo of an unseen clock chimed somewhere deep within the manor, its mournful call fading into the enveloping darkness, marking the moment when everything began to unravel. The cold air pressed in relentlessly, slipping beneath the edges of the boarded windows, swirling like ghostly fingers through the abandoned manor's hollow halls. Emma sat perched on the edge of the crumbling stone stairwell, her hands folded tightly in her lap, the heirloom pocket watch resting heavy against her palm, a weight almost unbearable. The dim moonlight stretched cold silver across the peeling wallpaper and cracked floorboards, casting jagged shadows that seemed to claw at the emptiness within. Her breath rose slowly in clouds, a ghost of warmth swallowed almost instantly by the chill that had seeped into the very bones of the house, into the marrow of her spirit. The silence was total but for the faint creak of the settling manor, and somewhere deep in the distance, the relentless crash of waves upon the cliffs. Yet all sound felt swallowed in an ocean of despair. Emma's gaze wandered across the forsaken family portraits hanging askew, faces frozen in time, pale and unfamiliar now, their eyes hollow vessels reflecting the decay of lineage and legacy. The weight of betrayal pressed upon her like the dense fog outside, obscuring every path forward, suffocating every flicker of hope. She traced the taut edges of her green scarf, the once comforting symbol now a fragile tether to a past she no longer recognized. Fingers trembling, she pulled the sleeve back, exposing the intricate tattoo snaking around her wristlines and curves that whispered of hidden histories and undying roots. But tonight, it pulsed faintly in the darkness, a dim echo of distant strength, barely audible amid the crashing silence. No words escaped her lips. Her voice, a hollow whisper, caught in the cavernous stillness. Why? The manor seemed to breathe around her, enveloping her in shadows thickened by loss. Memories flooded a litany of sacrifices, long silences, the betrayals of kin and blood, the cursed inheritance of pain. The pocket watch's ticking, once a steady heartbeat of possibility, now sounded fractured, each tick a fracture in time itself. Emma curled further into herself, a solitary island in the vast sea of absence, the ache within folding inward like the petals of a closing flower. The walls bore witness to her solitude, the smeared outlines of history bleeding into present fears. The decayed grandeur of the manor mirrored the ruin of trust and safety she once sought here. A single candle guttered nearby, its flame trembling and guttering against a breath of wine, the fragile light swinging perilously close to extinguishment. Slowly, ever so slowly, Emma reached a hand toward it, fingers brushing against the last flickering hope before retreating, unwilling or unable to grasp it fully. The cold creeping up her spine was more than the night's chill, it was the desolation of a soul stretched thin, of burdens too vast for one to bear unbroken. The shadows swallowed the flickering candlelight whole, and with it, the last flicker of resistance flickered into silence. Emma's eyes closed, and the world fell away, the echoing emptiness of the manor swallowed her, and for a long, suspended moment, time itself seemed to shatter. The camera held on the abandoned manor's silhouette against the black sea, the moonlight a pale witness to the dissolution below. A single, fragile flame vanished into the cold night as silence deepened, a stillness heavy with the permanence of loss, poised on the precipice of the unknown. The storm outside had passed, leaving behind a fragile calm that stretched thin over the ancient manor like a fragile veil. Emma sat silently in the dim glow of an oil lamp, the flickering flame casting dancing shadows across her face, etching every line of exhaustion and sorrow deep into her skin. The stillness was almost unnatural after days of ceaseless turmoil not just outside, but within. Her eyes, rimmed with weariness and solitude, drifted toward the tarnished pocket watch resting on the cracked wooden table beside her. The watch, once a gleaming silver talisman passed through generations, now bore scratches and dimmed engravings, a tangible symbol of fractured time and the weight of inheritance. Its slow, steady ticking was a solemn reminder that time cannot be undone, only embraced. Emma's fingers hovered over the watch, trembling slightly before wrapping around its cold surface. It felt heavier this night, as though imbued with the sorrow and hope of those who had held it before her, a silent bearer of both curse and possibility. In the quiet of the room, a whisper of moonlight seeped through the cracked window, brushing against the face of the watch and igniting in Emma's mind a faint, haunting memory. The first morning of her childhood, when sunlight had danced warmly on the cliffside, and her father's smile had held no shadows. That memory, distant but undimmed, sparked a fragile thread of courage amid the suffocating gloom. A creak from the floorboard stirred her from reverie. She looked up, eyes catching a glimpse of something partially hidden beneath an overturned chira-weathered envelope, its seal broken, edges frayed. Curiosity stirred despite the heaviness in her chest. Unfolding the envelope with slow, deliberate care, she found a folded letter penned in an elegant, familiar hand, her father's. The ink had faded, but the message was clear, a whisper of hope amid despair, a plea for forgiveness and an urging to seek the truth, armored not in fear, but in courage. It spoke of a concealed room within the manor, a final resting place of secrets long forgotten, containing the key to breaking the curse that haunted their bloodline. Emma's breath caught. The letter was more than a bequest, it was an invitation, a challenge, a frail lifeline cast into the depths of night. Her gaze shifted back to the watch, the moonlight pooling over its delicate face. Slowly, she raised it to her lips, a silent vow escaping in a breath, for you, and for us all. The shadows seemed to shift, and the atmosphere in the room grew lighter, as if the house, itself weary of secrets, exhaled in relief. Emma rose, her movements uncertain but filled with a burgeoning resolve. Each step toward the manor's hidden past was a step away from the crushing weight of despair. Outside, the fog thinned, revealing the jagged cliffs silhouetted against a slowly brightening sky. The first hints of dawn were washing the world anew, a promise not yet fulfilled but undeniably approaching. Emma stood at the threshold of revelation and renewal, the watch heavy in her hand but symbolically lighter than before. The curse, the dark legacy, was not a shackle but a summons. And with it came the smallest, brightest flicker of hope. Even in the deepest night, the dawn awaits. The room settled into profound silence, save for the tentative ticking of the watch, a heartbeat amid the quiet, a fragile echo of life waiting to rise. The story lingered on Emma's silhouette framed against the growing light, a figure poised between the fading shadows of the past and the uncertain promise of the future. The first light of dawn seeped softly through the broken canopy of the old manor, casting a gentle gold that danced upon the dust motes suspended in the air. Emma moved slowly through the overgrown gardens, her footsteps muffled by the tangled grass, each step tentative yet purposeful. The air was thick with the scent of moss and salt, the distant cry of seagulls faint but persistent, whispering promises of change. The crumbling stone wall overlooking the cliffs had begun to crack along its weathered edges, shrouded in a haze of dawn fog that drifted lazily over the landscape. Emma's gaze lingered on the broken barrier, the symbol of a once cursed legacy slowly yielding to the passage of time and her newfound resolve. The heirloom pocket watch she clutching was heavy in her coat pocket, its surface a mosaic of scratches and faint engravings that caught the earliest light, shimmering with a promise yet unfulfilled. She paused on the edge of the cliffs, breathing deeply. The cold air seeped into her lungs, sharpening her awareness. As her eyes traced the jagged cliffs dropping into the restless sea, a faint warmth stirred within her, first tentative stirrings of hope. The shadows that had haunted her mind, doubts, guilt, the weight of secrets, began to loosen their grip, dissolving like mist in the dawn. Memories flickered of the days when she'd stood at this precipice, trembling in fear of uncovering truths buried deep within her bloodline. But the earth beneath her feet now felt steadier, the horizon brighter, as if the landscape itself acknowledged her silent courage. Her fingers brushed the fabric of her earth-toned coat, feeling the subtle texture of the scarfit's green hue, a symbol of rebirth wrapped tightly around her neck. A slow melody played in her mind, a faint echo of her father's voice, whispering warnings and hopes from long ago. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the waves crashing below and the wind caressing her cheek drown out her fears. Within that quiet storm, a fragile spark ignited an awareness that even broken things could be mended. The distant manor loomed behind her, its windows fractured but gleaming faintly in the earliest sunlight. She turned back, her gaze settling on the forgotten building, now bathed in a warm glow of visual metaphor for the possibility of renewal. The shadows of decay still clung to its walls, but within, the promise of a new beginning lingered. She clenched her fists briefly, feeling the faint pulse of the pocket watch in her coat pocket, the heartbeat of her family's troubled legacy, now intertwined with her own. Her breath formed delicate clouds in the cold air, which slowly diffused into the vast, untamed landscape before her. The fog lifted fractionally, revealing a path forward uncertain, yet undeniably present. The camera lingered on her silhouette framed against the awakening dawn, a figure poised between past and future. The silence was thick but no longer oppressive. It was a quiet testament that true change begins softly, subtly, in the tender moments when hope flickers anew. In that fragile pause, Emma felt a deep, trembling hope blossom, an acknowledgement that even in the depths of despair, the first light of possibility can break through, leading her onward, into the unknown. The first light of dawn filtered through the fractured windows of the manor, casting a sepia glow over the scenes of destruction that littered the ground, cracked stone, fallen pillars, shards of stained glass shimmering like fractured memories. Emma moved with purpose among the ruins, her resolve hardening with every step. The weight of the past had threatened to crush her, but now she felt a shifting in her core, a flicker of strength ignited by the realization that rescue and redemption were within reach, but only if she dared to act. Her hand brushed the rough surface of a crumbling wall, the roughness a tactile reminder of what had been lost and what could be reclaimed. The broken mortar crumbled at her touch, revealing hidden cracks, a network of secrets buried beneath layers of decay. Her eyes flickered to the faint glow of the heirloom pocket watch, now veiled in a new light, its delicate surface reflecting the first rays of the Suna symbol of hope, promising a new chapter. She stepped toward the crumbling foundation, her breath steady but tinged with anticipation. The cool morning air filled her lungs, sharpening her senses, aligning her with the subtle heartbeat of the manor's heart. As she pressed her palm against the aged stone, her mind raced with the cryptic clues from her discovery, the unfinished letters, the faded portraits, the secret chamber that beckoned beneath the weight of centuries. A sudden tremor resonated beneath her feet, a deep rumble that echoed like the heartbeat of the earth itself, reminding her that the curse that had haunted her bloodline was not static, not fixed in time, but a living force waiting to be unraveled. Her fingers closed around the straps of her coat, drawing strength from the tactile connection, and she took a decisive step forward. In that moment, her gaze landed on the faint outline of a mural hidden beneath layers of grime and paint, an ancient depiction of the town's founding, intertwined with symbols that she now understood were the threads of her heritage. Her fingertips brushed the surface, feeling the elaborate carvings, the stories of greed, betrayal, and hope written in silent language. With careful, deliberate effort, she began to scrub away the layers of neglect, revealing the once forgotten imagery, an act of restoration and defiance intertwined. As the mural re-emerged in the emerging light, Emma's breath caught a visual testament to her own journey, from darkness toward light, from despair to purpose. A gust of wind swept through the rubble, stirring the debris into a swirling dance, as if nature itself was witnessing her act of renewal. Her lips trembled with conviction, and her voice, soft but resolute, broke the silence. "This is our beginning." In that fragile dawn moment, Emma felt a profound connection between the crumbling manor and her own fractured soul. The shadows receded, and in their place, a vivid possibility shimmered, the promise that even buried secrets and broken pasts could be reshaped, renewed, reborn. The sun's rays finally pierced through the last clouds, casting the mortal ruins in a golden light, a breathtaking reminder that hope exists in the act of rebirth itself. The dawn spread a luminous gold across the desolate manor, casting long shadows that flickered like whispers of ancient secrets. Emma stood atop the crumbling veranda, the air thick with anticipation and the newfound calm of purpose. Her silhouette, bathed in the gentle glow of sunrise, was a testament to profound transformation, every line of her face softened, yet resolute, now deeply rooted in hope. In her hand, she cradled the heirloom pocket watch, its polished surface catching the morning light, breathing life into the old legend. The swirling engravings shimmered, whispering of destiny turned anew, a symbol of the burdens shed and the future embraced. Her green scarf fluttered gently in the ocean breeze, a radiant emblem of rebirth and possibility. The landscape before her stretched wide and bright, an untouched horizon where the sea met sky with promises of renewal. The battered manor behind her stood in silent acceptance, its walls echoing stories of despair now softened into legacy, decay transformed into resilience. The stones, once burdened by darkness, now gleamed with the first light of hope. She drew a slow breath, tasting the salty air, her eyes tracing the jagged cliffs carved by time and tide. The fog that had cloaked the town, the secrets, and the curse, had lifted, yet the memories lingered, shadows now made gentle by her act of courage. A faint smile curved her lips in unspoken acknowledgement of how far she'd come. Every step leading here had been a journey of fear, pain, and awakening, a narrative woven into her soul. The whispers of her ancestors seemed to echo in the wind, a chorus of resilience encouraging her forward. The distant town stirred with renewed life, the first rays illuminating every corner, new beginnings born from old sacrifices. Emma's stance was steady, her gaze unwavering, embodying the quiet strength her lineage had long concealed beneath layers of secrets and curses. In that moment of silence, she felt an unbreakable connection stretching through time between her past, her present, and the promise of what lay ahead. The broken walls, the forgotten murals, the shadows cast by grief all converged into a radiant tapestry of hope. With a gentle, deliberate motion, Emma raised the pocket watch, its ticking now a heartbeat of her rebirth. She held it aloft to the rising sun, a beacon of peace and renewal. Her voice, soft but full of conviction, broke the dawn. "This is our dawn. Our future, born from the truth we dared to confront." As the light bathed her and the manor in golden hue, the camera lingered on her figure, a symbol of resilience unbroken, a testament to the power of facing darkness with unwavering resolve. The scene slowly faded into the brightening horizon, placing the promise of new beginnings into a limitless sky waiting. The first light of dawn touched the jagged edges of the cliffs, casting a soft, amber glow that bled into the gentle fog hanging low over the town. Emma stood motionless at the cliff's edge, her silhouette etched against the awakening sky, a quiet figure carved in the stillness of the morning. She clutched the heirloom pocket watch, its intricate patterns catching the first rays, shimmering like a promise finally fulfilled. Her eyes rested on the silent manor below, its dark silhouette softened by the dawn's tender light. The decay, once oppressive, now seemed to breathe in harmony with the rising sun, a symbol of the long and arduous journey toward peace. Her fingers gently traced the edge of the pocket watch, feeling the cool metal, a delicate weight that contained stories of loss, hope, and resurrection. The wind lingered softly, whispering through the sparse trees and tousling her copper hair. A brief shiver ran through her as she closed her eyes, letting the tranquil stillness seep into her bones. In that moment, she felt a gentle, almost imperceptible pulse of her own heart, steady and sure, echoing through the quiet landscape. She remembered the long nights of discovery, the shadows cast by secrets too dark to confront, and the fragile victories that had slowly built her courage to face the truth. Every revelation, every betrayal, had carved scars and wisdom into her soul shadows that now flickered with the faint glimmer of understanding. A small, serene smile touched her lips as she slowly lifted her hand, raising the pocket watch above her head as if stretching toward the new day. The delicate engravings in the metal shimmered in the sunlight, reflecting a tapestry woven from pain and Happian emblem of resilience and renewal. The distant town stirred, awakening to a fresh beginning, the fog retreating quietly as the first rays of sun breached the horizon, bathing the world in soft, golden light. Emma's gaze lingered on the manor, now glowing warmly, its decay transformed into a symbol of healing and redemption. She exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing into a calm she had fought so fiercely to find. The journey, filled with darkness and doubt, was forging a new connection, one rooted in the understanding that acceptance was the greatest victory of all. Standing there, at the precipice of discovery and peace, Emma let the silence linger. The wind gently carried her silent vow, to cherish this newfound freedom and carry the torch of truth into every shadowed corner left behind. With one last look at the horizon, she lowered her hand, feeling the faint warmth of hope settle deep into her tranquil dawn, welcoming the dawn of her true liberation. The dawn's light spilled over the cliffs, casting a gentle glow that gently warmed the stone edges of the manor, now silent and reclaimed by nature's slow, relentless embrace. Emma stood at the precipice, her silhouette stark against the vivid colors of morning. The heirloom pocket watch, nestled carefully in her palm, shimmered softly in the new light, a gleaming symbol of the journey from darkness to dawn. Her gaze traced the horizon where the sea stretched boundless and eternal, a mirror for her own unfolding story, every wave a memory, every ripple a quiet affirmation of resilience. The fog had lifted, retreating into the depths behind her, leaving behind a landscape untouched by shadow but illuminated by hope. The heavy weight of secrets, curses, and betrayal that had haunted her ancestors seemed diminished in the dawn's gentle grace. The air was filled with a profound silence, almost sacred in its stillness, a space where grief and regret melted into understanding. Emma's fingers brushed lightly against her scarf, feeling the textured fabric, a subtle reminder of new beginnings draped around her, symbolizing healing and peace. She closed her eyes, letting the warmth suffuse every part of her being, feeling the quiet strength that had grown silently within. Within that serenity, her mind wove the tapestry of her journey, each chapter steeped in pain and revelation, yet colored now with renewal and forgiveness. The whispers of her ancestors echoed softly, their voices carried on the breeze, urging her onward. She breathed in deeply, the air sharp and cleansing, and finally let go of the last remnants of doubt. A gentle smile curved her lips, a quiet acceptance that her past was not a chain but a foundation. The curse, the secrets, the betrayals, all had led her here, to this fragile yet unbreakable moment of peace. Her hand lifted slowly, the delicate movement a silent testament to her transformation. The watch in her palm ticked softly, each beat a reminder of time's passing and destiny's gentle unfolding. She looked at the manor one last time, its decayed facade bathed in golden dawn, now a symbol of hope reborn through courage and resilience. The heavy doors that once symbolized secrets and shadows now stood as silent witnesses to the new chapter she was forging. Standing tall, Emma expanded her chest, the light catching her copper hair, and with a steady hand she raised the heirloom watch above her head, a lighthouse for her soul. A quiet vow passed from her lips, words filled with serenity and strength. This is our beginning. The camera lingered on her figure against the vast, awakening landscape, the horizon awash in life and promise. The scene faded softly, bathing her in the glow of hope and newly found purpose, poised at the dawn of her true awakening, a testament to the unyielding resilience of the human spirit. The sun crested the horizon in a gentle burst of gold, spilling light over the landscape that had begun reclaiming its ancient memory. Emma stood atop the moonlit cliff, the heirloom pocket watch clasped firmly in her hand, its surface gleaming softly as if pulsing with quiet affirmation. Behind her, the mannered site of her darkest revelation stood silent, its decaying walls bathed in dawn's first warmth, nature slowly weaving a spell of renewal. A light breeze caressed the grasses, whispering through the coastal air like a gentle song of serenity. The jagged cliffs stretched outward, seemingly reaching for eternity, holding in their silent embrace the stories of sorrow and resilience intertwined within the land's very soul. Emma's silhouette remained poised and still, as if in harmony with the gentle rhythm of the waking world. Her eyes, deep pools of calm and acceptance, lingered on the horizon where sky met sea, a place of infinite possibility. The shadows of the past, once thick and oppressive, had receded into memory, replaced by a fragile hope she had fought so desperately to nurture. The curse that once had haunted her bloodline, twisting secrets into chains, was dissolving into the sunrise, dissolving into the forgiving ocean. The small, delicate movements of her hand resting on her heart mirrored her inner transformation, a gesture of release, of newfound peace. Her lips parted in a breathless smile, a silent prayer, a vow to honor her ancestors' pain and triumph alike. She felt the serenity of self-forgiveness, the quiet wisdom that comes from facing one's deepest fears and emerging stronger. Around her, the landscape shimmered in the golden light. Trees stood tall, roots deep and unyielding, echoing her own journey of unearthing buried truths. The heirloom watch in her grasp seemed to pulse faintly with each heartbeat, a steady reminder of the inexorable passage of time and her mastery over it. In that slow, sacred moment, Emma's gaze lifted once more to the vast sky, her heart open and unburdened. The distant manor faded into a silhouette of memories dissolving into dawn's gentle promise. The simple beauty of the scene embodied the culmination of her odyssey, a life reclaimed, a curse lifted, a future born anew. With a final, lingering glance at the tranquil scene, she slowly lowered the watch, its surface catching the sunlight, casting a curtain of shimmering light over the landscape. The camera pulled back, capturing her figure framed against the awakening world, a symbol of resilience, hope, and the serenity that springs from the courage to confront and ultimately understand one's own history. Silent, timeless, and profound, this moment drifted into eternity, a pause where peace settled in, unspoken but deeply felt, sealing her journey into a quiet eternity of hope, purpose, and belonging. What would you uncover in your family history?